Hey, how are you doing? I am just hopping on for a real quick note to show you a peek of what I've been into. Besides getting all of this information ready for all of you highly sensitive people to help you with managing your energy, I also am totally in love with AI. And this deep dive is done by AI, and it's taking my information and talking about it. Check it out. Hope you like it. Have a blessed one. Enjoy and let me know what you think
Hey
of it.
there. Ready for something a little different?
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
We're diving deep into indigo individuals.
I've heard that term, but I'm not really sure what it means.
Yeah, it's been kind of floating around, hasn't it?
Right, so what is an indigo exactly?
Well, it's not like a formal diagnosis or anything.
Okay, good to know.
It's more of a concept about people who experience the world in a unique way.
Like they're extra sensitive or something.
Exactly. They might feel energy really strongly,
Oh,
or
interesting.
they have a deep sense of purpose.
Like they're here for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. And they often see injustice and can't just stand by.
Okay, I'm starting to get a picture of this.
They're like the change makers, the ones who want to make the world a better place.
I can see how that would tie into a strong sense of justice.
Right. So our guide for this is an ebook by K. Elizabeth Green.
What's the book called?
It's called Blessing or Cursed, Are You an Indigo?
Catchy title.
Green's an intuitive channel, an author, and she dives deep into this whole indigo thing.
So how do we even know if this applies to us?
Well, she has this indigo quiz in the book, which is kind of fun.
Okay, I'm all for a good quiz.
Right. Some of the things she lists are like feeling most at peace in nature,
Nature lover, check.
maybe seeing colors around people.
Oh, I've definitely heard people talk about that.
Yeah, it's a thing. And then there's feeling stifled by like rigid systems.
Ugh, yeah, bureaucracy can be a nightmare.
Exactly. She says if you relate to 5 or more of these traits,
5 or more.
yeah, there's a good chance you might be an indigo.
Interesting. But I'm always a bit skeptical of these self-assessment things.
Right, I get that. It's definitely not a scientific diagnosis.
It's more for, like, self-exploration, right?
Exactly. But it does make me wonder if any of this connects to, like, real psychology.
You know, there are some overlaps with established personality traits.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, think about the sensitivity aspect.
Yeah, the feeling energy thing.
There's this concept called sensory processing sensitivity.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
It's basically about being super aware of subtle stimuli.
Like they just pick up on more stuff.
Exactly. And they process information really deeply.
It's like their senses are turned up to 11.
Uh-huh. Yeah, kind of like that.
So that could explain why they feel overwhelmed in, like, crowded places.
Right, or why they connect so deeply with art and nature.
Yeah, it all makes sense. What about the whole purpose thing?
That could tie into things like pro-social behavior.
Pro-social.
Yeah, it's basically about wanting to help others contribute to something bigger.
Oh, right. That makes sense.
Or intrinsic motivation, where you're driven by your own values and passions.
So indigos aren't just about feelings. They also take action.
Exactly. They want to make a real difference in the world.
And this is where it gets even wilder.
Wilder. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Green doesn't just see indigos as a modern thing.
Oh, really?
She says they've been around throughout history.
Whoa, like way back when?
Yeah. She actually outlines different generations of indigos.
Generate.
Yeah, so like there were those who came before the term even existed.
Wow, the OG Indigos.
Exactly. Imagine being an indigo before anyone even knew what that was.
Yeah, I bet that was tough.
She calls this first phase the Scouts.
The Scouts paving the way.
Right. Think about people like Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc, the warrior saint.
Yeah, or Saint Bernadette, who had those visions.
Wow, those are some powerful figures.
Right. And they were often seen as rebellious or even heretics.
It's like they were ahead of their time.
It makes you wonder how many others were out there just misunderstood.
Like they were trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly. They were just different.
And society wasn't ready for them.
So if the early indigos were the Scouts,
Who came next?
well, Green says the second phase emerged between 78 and 95.
70 to 95, okay.
And they helped their parents, the Scouts, reconnect with their own intuition.
Oh, wow, like a generational bridge.
I love that.
Yeah.
So if you were born during this time, you might have questioned authority.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
challenged systems, felt limited by, like, traditional structures.
Always pushing boundaries, Rick.
Yeah, and that's a common thread in the Indigo narrative.
It's about authenticity, meaning not just blindly following the rules.
Right, so maybe those kids labeled troublemakers in school.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe they were just wired differently.
They couldn't conform to a system that didn't resonate with them.
Right, or maybe they were just super sensitive to injustice.
Yeah, and that troublemaker label was really misinterpreting their intentions.
Okay, so we've got the trailblazers, the system challengers.
Who are the Indigos of today, then?
Well, Green says the third phase started around 96 and is still going.
So kids born from 96 onwards.
Exactly. And she thinks they're growing up with more acceptance of their abilities.
Makes sense. Society's changing, right?
We're more open to these kind of things now.
Hopefully.
But Green also talks about the struggles those early Indigos faced.
Yeah, those who came before the term even existed.
Imagine feeling like you didn't belong, constantly met with skepticism,
Like no one understood what you were going through.
and constantly sensing energies that others didn't even notice.
That must have been so isolating.
Especially back then, when no one talked about this stuff.
And there was that pressure to just conform, be like everyone else.
Green even mentions a lot of Indigos were drawn to the civil rights movement.
That makes sense given their strong sense of justice.
Right. They couldn't just ignore the inequality they saw.
They had to take action, be part of the change.
And she also highlights the challenges Indigos faced in education.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that.
Especially the second phase. They thrive in creative, intuitive environments.
And traditional schools are, well, not exactly known for that.
Exactly. It's all about logic and rote memorization.
Which can be a nightmare for someone who learns differently.
It makes you think about your own experiences in school, right?
Yeah. Did you ever feel like the system just didn't get you? Like you had a different way of thinking that wasn't valued?
It's a common experience for many people, I think.
Yeah, whether they identify as indigo or not. It's about recognizing that there are different ways of being intelligent.
Exactly. And that we need to create learning environments that support that diversity.
So everyone can thrive and reach their full potential.
Yeah, it's all about finding what works for you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And celebrating those differences.
So as we kind of wrap up this Indigo deep dive.
Wrapping up already.
I know, right? Time flies.
It does.
But I want to bring it back to, like, you, the listener.
Okay, back to the audience.
What's resonating with you so far?
Yeah, do any of these traits sound familiar?
Do you feel like you might be an Indigo?
Or maybe you know someone who fits the description.
Yeah. Or maybe it's just made you think about, like, how we view differentness.
That's a big one, right?
Totally. Like, what's considered normal and who gets to decide that?
And how do we create space for people who don't fit neatly into those boxes?
It's about embracing the whole spectrum of human experience, you know?
I love that, the whole spectrum.
So we've talked a lot about Green's perspective.
Yeah, her take on indigos.
But I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on the bigger picture here?
Bigger picture.
Like, if we move beyond the label itself,
Okay, yeah.
what does it mean to, like, embrace our intuition in a world that's all about logic?
That's a really interesting question.
Right. It's like we're taught to value the things we can see, measure, prove.
Yeah, the tangible stuff.
But what about those gut feelings, those whispers of knowing?
It's stuff that science can't always explain.
Exactly. And sometimes we dismiss that as woo-woo or whatever.
But what if it's actually a valid way of knowing?
Right. Like our intuition's been honed over like millennia.
It's part of our evolution.
So what if we tapped into that more? How would that change our lives?
Our decision-making, our relationships, everything.
It makes you wonder if we've lost touch with that part of ourselves.
In our rush to be rational, maybe?
Right. So how do we reclaim it? How do we cultivate our intuition?
Well, I think it starts with just paying attention
Paying attention to what?
to those subtle nudges, those gut feelings.
The ones we usually ignore.
Exactly. What if we paused, listened, considered what they might be telling us?
Instead of just brushing them off.
Right. It's about creating space for that inner voice to emerge.
Even if it doesn't make logical sense.
Exactly. And then maybe trusting ourselves enough to act on those insights.
Even if we can't fully explain them.
It's a practice, learning to discern intuition from just, like, random thoughts.
Oh, I like that. Like training your intuition muscle.
Yeah. And as we do that, it becomes more reliable, like a compass.
Guiding us towards a more authentic life.
Exactly. And even if the term indigo doesn't resonate with everyone,
Yeah, not everyone's going to identify with that.
but the concepts themselves are valuable,
The intuition, the sensitivity, the alternative ways of knowing.
It's about expanding our understanding of what it means to be human.
And appreciating the incredible diversity of human experience.
Absolutely. We're all unique, with our own gifts and ways of being,
And this whole indigo thing, it's like a reminder that there's always more to discover.
both within ourselves and in the world around us.
Green's book is just one starting point.
Right. There are tons of resources out there if you want to explore further.
Books, articles, online communities, all sorts of stuff.
And as you dive in, remember to be critical. Think for yourself.
Don't just blindly accept everything you read.
Trust your own intuition, your own inner compass.
I love that. So if you're feeling adventurous, you could even,
What could we do?
check out the lives of those historical figures Green mentioned.
Oh, yeah, Joan of Arc, St. Bernadette.
Imagine seeing their stories through the lens of the indigo concept.
That would be fascinating.
Right. Or maybe explore alternative education methods.
Like Montessori or Waldorf schools,
They often focus on creativity and individuality.
which aligns with the Indigo way of learning.
Exactly. This deep dive's really opened up some possibilities.
It has. It's like a whole new world waiting to be explored.
And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling inspired.
Inspired.
That's
Dude.
right.
To pay more attention to those intuitive nudges, you know?
Yeah, to listen to that inner voice and maybe even be a little more courageous in following it.
I'm with you on that. It's time to embrace our full potential.
Exactly. And remember,
Don't leave us hanging.
there's so much more to us than meets the eye.
Ooh, I like that. Cryptic and inspiring.
And the journey of self-discovery, it never really ends.
It's a lifelong adventure.
It's like we've been given this, roadmap to a hidden part of ourselves.
And it's not just for, a select few, you know?
Right. Anyone can tap into this.
It's about remembering that we all have that intuitive spark within us.
So as we wrap up this Indigo deep dive,
Oh, I'm going to miss talking about this.
me too, but it's time to bring it back to you, the listener.
Yeah, what are you taking away from all of this?
Do any of these Indigo traits, really resonate with you?
Do you feel that pull towards intuition?
That sense of being a little bit different, a little bit outside the box.
And even if the label Indigo doesn't feel right,
Yeah, it's not about the label, really.
what aspects of this concept spark your curiosity?
What makes you want to learn more?
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. We
What?
talked about, what it means to be an Indigo.
The challenges they face, their impact on the world.
The different generations of Indigos throughout history.
It's like a whole lineage of intuitive individuals.
Right. And we connected those traits to, actual psychology
Looking at things like sensitivity and purpose.
and how those qualities can manifest in different ways.
We even talked about the importance of embracing intuition.
In a world that's often so focused on logic and reason.
Finding that balance between the two is key, you know?
So as you go about your day, we want to leave you with a question.
Ooh, a parting thought.
If intuition is this, deep inner knowing,
That goes beyond logic.
how can we cultivate it in a world that's obsessed with, proof and evidence?
It's a challenge, for sure.
But it's a challenge worth exploring, don't you think?
Absolutely. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning,
Keep diving deep into those mysteries.
and most importantly, keep shining your own unique light.
Because the world needs that now more than ever.